Good morning. It is 9:04. I call the Anchorage meeting to order. And looks like we have all members excluding Doug and staff. We have Chad Austin here. And we'll begin by the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first item's not on the agenda, but it seems that Chairman Doug is having some issues about coming and has expressed that he wants to have someone else take over as chairman. So before we start the meeting, let's see if we can get another chairman on board. So are there any nominations from the board?
I'll nominate Sam Lurie.
I second it.
Sam Lurie is nominated. Are there any other nominations? Okay, I'm willing to accept the position. All in favor of Sam Lurie being the chairman, say aye.
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 Any opposed? I abstain. It passes semi-unanimously. Congratulations.
He's been appointed for 2 years.
Vice chair as well?
Oh, yes. So that leaves a vacancy for the vice chair. Do I hear any nominations for the vice chairman?
I would nominate myself.
Okay. I second that. Chris is nominated to be the vice chairman. Are there any other nominations? All in favor of Chris being vice chairman, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Congratulations. Okay, get the meeting started here. Wasn't planning on this, but we took the roll call. Next is the hold on a second.
Good idea.
Okay. Next is to approve the agenda. Is there anything that needs to be added or deleted from today's agenda?
I have a question. During staff report, will you cover some of the things that we talked about last time that are sort of still in flux, like the Laguna Channel, grants, Anchorage limitation area, update on sanitary connection? That's what we covered?
Yeah, we do have some points here with the current items about the sanitation. We can go over the updates with Laguna Channel and the progress being made with that, along with, we did meet with our attorney for the ALAs as well.
Okay.
Okay. Agenda looks good. We can adjust it for next month's meeting if we need to. Everyone should have got the minutes in an email. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'm sorry. Did I miss the email?
I don't
I missed it too.
But you can, does everybody want to go over the minutes briefly before we vote on it?
Oh, I'm sorry, the minutes. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I don't think we got the
No, we got the agenda.
Yeah, y'all received.
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, that was right after the meeting. I
Okay.
I think it was in the first meeting announcement.
think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, before it's
Venues changed, but yeah, there's always a link that should have some draft minutes in there.
Thank you.
Well, it's pretty lengthy, so if you guys want to just take a minute to look it over. Most of it's a narrative that is the narrative from the town report here.
It's here if you want to take
I
it.
did see it. I did see it when you
Okay.
originally sent
Yeah,
it.
but John, I don't find that acceptable. If you're gonna send out 3 agenda emails, and I see there's multiple emails, I'm not necessarily, as I did last night, not go back to the first one and see what the attachments are. So if you're gonna send multiple emails for agenda or for whatever,
Okay.
please attach minutes on each time you send it out. because
Those are the minutes.
that's why I missed the meeting.
Yeah, so I, like I said, I never attached it. There's a link to the town website that always has the minutes there for your perusal, and we'll do our best, Mr. Nash.
Did we see that on the last agenda link that you sent out, the last general email?
Actually, I think the last one was actually a link right to, it wasn't even an attachment, it was in the body of the.
Right,
Right.
the chat saying,
Email.
and if it was in there, my apologies.
No worries.
If it wasn't in there, please let me know. I missed
We'll
it.
take a minute to look at it. Most of it is Austin's presentation here, which looked to me to be pretty accurate. But you guys can take a minute to look over that.
And we did receive a question from a couple of people who were here last time about being able to see the agenda on the town's website. Where would people look for that?
I can ask our PIO.
Okay,
I think it's on, if you Google, Town of Fort Myers Beach meetings and agendas, or maybe committees.
yeah, I think the only place you can find it is on the calendar, and if you know the day of the meeting. So I'm wondering if it can't be posted under each committee, like your minutes are posted? I don't know, just a suggestion to make
I find
something
it very
easier.
challenging to find.
Yeah.
It's very hard to find. And not just for this committee, for all the committees.
Yeah,
Well, there is a spot there. I mean, I see the final minutes for January 17th, and then the draft for February, and this is on the Anchorage Committee page. But it looks like it just hasn't been updated. But it does have the other minutes. It's got years of minutes
Yeah.
on there, but it just doesn't have the last meeting on there. So she
For
put it
February, the minutes,
Right.
where it has draft.
I don't think they make it on there until they're signed.
There's
There's
2024, so it
Yep.
shows all the minutes
Yeah.
on there. So that shows us,
yeah,
and then all the minutes.
right.
And then on
Do you have a separate copy for
2024.
me to sign? Because this one says draft. This one? Okay. Even though it says draft, it'll be fine.
It's got the draft February and the
Okay.
final January is what it's got.
Yeah, so February's last meeting's minutes.
Yeah.
So just the draft.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
I guess
that's
it-
what we have to-
oh, okay.
yeah.
Well, that's what we have to approve.
It seems like it's
Okay.
much later in the year.
So it's in there.
Just March, right? Yeah.
Everybody get a chance to look that over? I mean, you know, time? Is there a motion to approve? Did you get your package?
No, sir, the draft of the minutes, I haven't seen. any of
They're in
it.
your package, I think.
I don't think they are.
No.
Oh,
No,
oh, just mine? Okay.
we just printed out the one for the
Just the
signature.
one for me? Okay. I read it online too.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Ed moves, Chris seconds. Any discussion, or do you need a minute, John?
I'd like a minute, just
We'll give a
look
minute
over,
for John to
please.
look over that summary.
Sam, I don't see anything that's inaccurate, accurate or
Great.
inaccurate.
Going to go ahead and move forward with the vote. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. And give these to Austin. Today is the 20th.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, moving on is, I don't see any public, is there any public comment? Seeing no public, let's move on to current items, the budget. Looks like we have a,
Sam, can I, that might be a point of order. Will the town council then appoint a replacement for former chair?
he hasn't resigned from the committee, so I don't think he's resigned from the committee, has he, Austin?
No, it's just,
I think he's just, and he does have excused absences, so as long as, you know, I think he's probably planning on coming. He's got a lot of other stuff going on right now
Okay.
with this house, and I think he's on a couple other committees also. So for now, if at some point he does resign and there's an opening, they'll advertise it with the town. see the budget here. And Chad, we weren't able to get our finance guy to come to this meeting, were we?
Yeah, our finance director sends his apologies. He is sick. He's been sick for a few days now, so no fun. You know, so there's that. We did put together just some projections just food for thought and thinking about our fee structure. This is kind of more just projection planning. If you look at our the 3 tables sheet that we have right here, on that top table is with our current fee of $410 a month. And I put 77 balls. We have 89 balls right now. I just use 77. That's what we're operating out of right now, but we could easily multiply it by 89. Again, this is just mostly just for discussion. But then if if you look at the projections based on different occupancies, and you could do it so that you have different rates of occupancy for different quarters, in season or out of season, or shoulders of the season, or however you want to play with the numbers. Right under that is, so you have $25 a day. And just for point of discussion, 30 days, that's $750 a month if you did it daily, just multiplied it out. And if you take that $410 and divide it by 30, they're getting about $13.67 per day at the monthly rate. Again, just food for thought. If you go to the second table, just a projection, if that fee was at $500, you have, again, just projections based on occupancy rates, and then kind of a differential of what you could expect an increase annually on the right there. And the same thing for a $600 increase. And again, I just thought it was interesting, just doing some simple math and looking at, $500 a day, it's about $16. $500 a month, it's about $16 a day. $600, it's about $20 a day, more or less. Not suggesting that we increase fees necessarily at this time, with facilities being challenging right now while we're on our road to recovery. But again, just wanted to give it all food for thought, and then we'll get Joe in here next month. Yes, sir.
Do you have the monthly history of our occupancy for the last 5 years?
For the last 5 years, we can dig that up.
I've got all that data, so the question is, can you use that in order to speed your projections?
Yes, yeah, that would be helpful. I appreciate that.
I have the finances and the graph of all the occupancy.
So the last 21 or 22, where we had like a solid semi-normal year, relatively recent, and with the number of balls that we have, just to
I'll just send it to you for the last 10 years, and you can pick what you want.
Yes, sir.
You want it in graph form or table form?
Excel is always preferred. Yeah, I like to play with numbers in Excel.
Okay.
Super. I have some questions.
Yes, ma'am.
What is our break even? I mean, because we want the mooring field to be self-sustaining, so what is that number?
So we're still teasing out, and that's why we wanted Mr. Joe to come in here and explain the finance side of it. So we're teasing out some things right now. We've gotten that, but there's things that we paid for that should be in our emergency fund, or they have like a whole separate thing that is kind of skewing the numbers. So I don't have that for you right now, and next month, fingers crossed.
And are you still considering different prices based on mooring field zones or sizes of boats? Are you thinking that you want to keep everything consistent for the short term, just until we kind of get over the hump?
So basically how we ran it in the past is by demand. Typically, that's why the price increase was increased to what it is today, was our high demand and what we were servicing these vessels. We were running at $325 a month with about a 40 boat wait list of 40 boats trying to come in. So with that, we increased the price, and at this time, We still haven't met 100% occupancy after the storm yet. So after we start reaching maximum capacity, then we can start phasing in different pricing, and that's how we've been pricing things out, is based on demand of the mooring field.
Yeah, I mean, to answer the question about size of vessels, it seems reasonable thing to do if we get to that point at some stage, and we certainly have the data in Dockway. You can see on the 2-table chart, you know, we run that report and get, it's the size of the ball, what the ball can accommodate, not necessarily the vessel that's on it.
Right.
But it does give you an idea. The possibilities there, the ability to do it is there, and look at it. But that would be anything else purview to recommend to council if that's how we wanted to structure fees in the future, should our occupancy warrant that.
Well, I'm guessing you only have so many of the large ball areas.
Yes,
you
ma'am.
know,
Maybe
so,
more
yeah.
hearings.
So, you know, it would make sense to me that you might have a premium price on those because there are fewer of those.
Absolutely.
We do follow suit with the other mooring fields in the state. So basically, this is a standard operation throughout the state, and that's why we try to keep accustomed with the boaters coming here, so we're not the abstract mooring
Sure.
field and doing things like that.
Yeah, that's what you said last time, which I agree with. Having done some investigation on my own, I see that's absolutely true. But I believe there was some talk about having escalating fees depending upon the amount of stay, that maybe, and this is from memory, we'd have a fixed fee or a set fee up to 30 days, then we would escalate from 30 to 45 days, and then I thought we would escalate above, again, 45 days, with encouragement, not having people pull in and stay there for months. Is that reflected in here? Is that where we're going? Is that a part of what we adopted? Is that still require additional study? Is that something that needs to be a motion to go forward?
The length of stay is based on the assignment. Typically, the longer you stay, the further you go back from the amenities, and that's how we accompany vessels staying for long periods of time. The transient vessels coming in for short amounts of times, they typically need more supplies and more usage of the amenities, whereas people who are staying for longer times seem to wean off after an amount of time and filling up their water jugs or whatever it may be. A lot of boats coming in just to seek harborage for a short amount of time will come in daily to get supplies and to re-up their waters or whatever it may be. So the law, basically my saying is, the longer you stay, the further you go back in the field.
The further you go back, but you're not increasing the daily fee,
No.
which I thought at some point we certainly discussed.
Yeah.
So what happened with that?
Like I said, we're just trying to meet the characteristics of all the mooring fields in the state. We haven't come across that incidence in any mooring field yet, so we're not trying to reinvent the wheel or anything. We're just trying to meet the status quo of what's going on throughout the state.
And typically you decrease the cost the longer you stay.
I know, but the discussion was to prevent people from tying up and staying for an unreasonable amount of time. Basically, there was thoughts, and I thought we said, and I thought there was either discussion or research on basically escalating costs after 30 days, 35 to 45, after 45. If that's something that we're flushing, then I think it should be stated. But I thought that was something the committee certainly felt positive about. Now, I could be wrong, but I thought that was the discussion.
I mean, I wasn't here last week, John, so I may not
I
have
think
heard
that's
that.
been a couple of.
I
No,
don't-
no,
I
that
don't
would be
remember that.
almost
I don't remember
3 or 4 months back,
Yeah.
except we talk about mooring ball fees. But is that something we don't want to pursue, then that's fine, but I think we should make a statement that we don't want to pursue it, because I certainly remember us discussing it.
I'm wondering, what is the average length of stay
Up
at
to-
a mooring field?
Up to about 3 months for us. We do have a 6-month term limit in the field, so at 6 months, you have to vacate the field for another 6 months within the year.
Yeah.
So we do have a 6-month limit at the field.
Yeah. That I certainly remember, but is the committee?
Can I ask, John, just for my own
Sure.
memory?
Mm-hmm.
Either you and or Austin, what are the public policy implications, either pro or con of what you're suggesting? Is that, are we trying to just get more turnover? Does it help the town does it help people spend more money in the town? What are the public policy pieces?
The incentive, as I remember it, and as it was stated, is the more that you have to have people passes up, because there's no spaces, the more people become not used of using us, or basically skipping us, or feeling that this is not a viable place to consider.
Okay.
And, you know, obviously if you get a reputation, especially on social media,
Of always being full.
of always being full, it's going to be, we're not going to try to go there because I haven't been able to get in there in the past.
I got you.
And isn't it also, we don't want to encourage people to have really cheap rental on the
Yeah,
water?
Yeah.
So again, I know that we went down this road as a discussion. If this is something we don't want to pursue, I think the committee should state it. If this is something we want to pursue, at least in study, I think the committee should state it, so.
I just believe the demand, we're not there yet. Sometime probably next year or the year after, when the demand is higher for what we're providing, then yeah, we can explore that to deter the overusage of the field. And then, like you said, with the reputation of our building, I would hate to damage the reputation and fluxing prices right now. We're trying to do anything when we do have availability.
Is there a problem with people staying 6 months at this point?
Is there a problem?
Yes.
We've had one incident to where people do get too established, the vessels go into derelict, and basically they've got to be towed out. That's the problem that we've been experiencing, is people not utilizing the boats to where they go into derelict and they're no longer meeting the parameters to moor in the field.
And that's happened once
So far, yeah.
recently?
Yeah. So that's where we've been monitoring it, but right now, we really don't have anybody staying that long. They typically stay during the busier seasons of the month, and then we've been getting people coming in for a week, but then end up staying for 3 months just because of the services we are providing. So it tends to be increasing, but we're not to where we need to start messing with prices or anything like that. We haven't actually sold out the systems yet.
But if they're on the ball, they should be liveaboard, right? If they're on the ball, they should be there, right? It's not for storage of a boat. It's
We do have storage, when actually the storage, the liveaboard, the 6 months applies to liveaboards, but if you do want to store your vessel, you can store it year-round without
you can't
liveaboard.
just keep it there.
And the purpose of that is we do encourage, we do encourage the dry storage, because we do get the money collection from the system without the usage of the amenities. If that makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
I kind of want people that are going to be on the balls to be, you know, utilizing and tourists and spending money on the island
Yeah.
as well. And
That's a great question, because do we want to incent dry storage, or do we want to
Yeah.
incent people that are going to come into the town and spend money and?
I tend to be the other
Yeah.
personally. I don't really like the storage, but I understand, especially if you're not 100%.
Well, the storage provides the residents with something as well, and that's who really reaches out to us for dry storage, for the residents to have a place to store their vessel. So we really incentivize the residents to store their vessels.
How is it dry storage if they're on the water?
I'm sorry, wet storage, did I say dry storage?
Yeah, that's right.
Wet storage.
I understood.
Sorry.
I was so confused.
Wet storage is basically what it is.
That's a special,
At low
that's a
tide.
special ball to get
At
dry
low
storage.
tide. Okay.
Low tide.
Yeah.
What is the percentage of that then?
Right now, we're probably storing about 10 vessels, and we have parameters with that where somebody has to be within 30 minutes of call time to respond to anything within it. So we've got numbers on file with people who do store their vessels that we can reach out if anything is in neglect.
Austin, not to be parochial, but can we restrict that to residents, that service, dry storage only to residents of Fort Myers Beach?
We are a first come, first served based on our state land lease, so I don't think we can really dictate who or what. It's just first come, first served.
I mean, it's just discussion, but I mean, I would almost be leaning more towards wanting to understand that better, almost more so than, you know, even just the escalation of prices for the longer you stay, because I really want people to use the amenities. And I understand, you know, they are using the amenities when they come,
Yeah.
but we can increase the fees to make sure that it's, you know, I don't think we're really limited on people
With the
use
state
it.
of our amenities right now, we have 2 bathrooms for 89 systems.
Yeah.
So that's where we're trying to limit it. Like I said, in the future, we can always explore that more, but right now I'm trying to kind of keep a balance in the usage of what we're doing. And then again, our dinghy dock situation as well is pretty limited as well.
And, I mean, right now, we have availability on balls, if
Yeah.
anybody rolled in, it's not,
Yeah, we're not waitlisting anybody or putting anything. The only thing that we have had to turn out or turn away were high-masted vessels because we can't get them in under the bridge, even though we do have the 13 systems on the front side of the bridge, but they continue to stay full, where we tend to put the higher-mast vessels over there.
So if I could just summarize what I've heard here, just to make sure that I've got it. Overall, we really want to align with what other mooring fields are doing so that we're not an outlier. We want to encourage our use for travelers rather than people who are hunkering down for a long period of time. We want to limit wet storage if possible because we do want that availability of the balls for people who are coming in and out. And pricing is good for now, but we can revisit it when the demand is higher.
sounds great.
Is that it?
One last question. I mean, when you look at that, how does the $25, I know as you say comparable to other mooring fields, how does the $25 in the monthly rate compare to other similar type of areas?
They did a study a few years ago. Austin's more familiar with that. I just looked up Key West right before we came to the meeting, and they were basically at $24 and change, and $400 and some odd, $427 for a monthly.
But throughout the state, there is a lowest that we found was 325, with the highest I think was Stewart around 475 a month.
We don't need to be the lowest, but I just, benchmarking, that's probably a good idea.
And that again was done 4 years ago, which we can revisit it. It's just a phone call or a website away to really compile all that information.
I would, if I could, just to put a ribbon on this, it's interesting, just on Monday, we had the Representative Botana come in and explain to the town that we have really $8 million, or 16 million total, but 8 of that 16 million is for revenue replacement for year 1 and year 2 post-Ian. So all of the dollars, and I assume it includes the mooring field revenue as well, that we lost year 1 and year 2 is going to be replaced by the state legislature, assuming the governor signs the bill, fingers crossed. But all that revenue will be replaced. I know we're looking at prospectively aligning our costs with our fees, but I just thought it was interesting that all those revenues have now been recaptured by the state of Florida to help us as we recover. So that was good news. And once we get that signed off on, the other $8 million was for a new town hall. And that's a whole other issue, but it was interesting on the revenue side, and we'll have to ask Joe how that impacts the mooring field, but a lot of the stuff you guys did was, you got grants for some of the repairs you did as well, so we may be way ahead on the revenue side, at least for the 2 years after the storm, which is great.
And this may come up in your report, Austin, but what's been our average occupancy for the last couple months on the mooring fields? How much have we?
70 to 80%. The February we were at 70 to 75, and then I believe today we're at about 80%.
It's been a little difficult to track just because fluctuating number of balls as we're getting things online in the middle of the month and calculating like those boat days, occupied days. You can see, number of, this last column on the 2 table, it does have boat days, and you would just multiply the number of balls times number of days in the month, and that would give you kind of a total, and then do some division, you have a percentage. But again, with every day, during January, December and January, it could be 1 week we're increasing balls every. So I think we're kind of hitting a plateau right now until we can make some headwinds with Coast Guard and the derelict vessels that are impeding the remaining 12 balls.
Does attendance at the mooring field reflect the normal volume here on the island? Does it parallel like spring break and January, February, March, and then start to taper off in April, and then dead in August, September? Does it taper, does it match that, or is it different?
We do anticipate the drop off at the end of April. So basically, yeah, it does.
Okay. It's curious.
That's interesting because I would think there's more people boating
In the summer.
later in the summer.
Yeah.
You
Summer
probably-
season.
Yeah, you probably have a higher occupancy. But it's wonderful when you go over the bridge and look,
It's full up.
it's full, looks great, you know.
Well, we already have a tiered system for the length of stay, so if we were to do some type of tiered system, turn it off.
It's a different ring.
Yeah.
It's my watch.
We already have a tiered system for length of stay. If we were to do a tiered system for size of vessel, it'd be my thought that just the ones west of the bridge with the 50-foot swing as opposed to the 40-foot swing. I don't know how you could do it by length of vessel because everybody lies about their length, everybody has bowsprits, everybody has, so that might be very complicated to do it by the foot. I don't think DOCWA, it'd be difficult to do it that way, but maybe we should consider down the road 2 tiers of pricing just for the old anchor, and then the new field with more swing, maybe, and that way it'd just be easy for DOCWA to do, and people would feel like they're, you know, not getting ripped off by being out, by having, not
Bless
having a
you.
big swing. And save it for the people that need it, and that's the people that probably should pay for it.
Okay.
Just one more,
Sure.
because I heard something out of you that I didn't understand. Last time we talked about this, I thought that you spoke about length of stay on a ball wasn't what you wanted to do. You wanted to have a fixed price for the same size vessel. No, are you charging by foot, right? Is it?
I've never been to charge by foot. It just adds
Right.
complication into
Exactly. So you made the comment that it's a cost per day per ball.
Yeah.
That had nothing to do with size of vessel. So that's why, Sam, I don't understand what you just said.
Oh, what I'm just saying is if we were gonna do size of vessel, we should not do length overall or anything. We should maybe just have 2 prices. East of the bridge would be our normal price and maybe a slight premium for the west of the bridge.
Just to add this into it, the highest demand systems that we have are closest to the bridge. So that's basically what we're looking at now. I get about 3 requests a day. Can I move closer? Can I move closer? Can I move closer? And that's just the usage of the amenities and the shorter dinghy ride. So just to throw that in there.
And then when we figure out where our land base is gonna be, at that point, if it's still the same, where the east field is less desirable, then maybe we'd wanna go with east, west, and west of the bridge. But to do it by length, it's gonna be too hard for DOCWA, and people aren't gonna tell you what the foot is. But we may wanna consider a variable price for at least a couple categories on that. But probably need to see how things shake out with our land base and how things are filling up once we fill up.
Very good.
I'm sorry, Sam. You mentioned that we already have, and I may have misunderstood, we already have a length of stay price escalation?
Yeah, we have a tier for that because our daily rate is higher than our weekly, is higher than our monthly. So we have tier pricing for length of stay. We just don't have tier pricing, variable pricing for location of or size of the boat.
Yeah, daily and weekly are essentially the same. 25 times 7 is 175.
And then we get a discount for the monthly.
Correct.
They sign up for the monthly. Or if they extend to the monthly, right? Does that still work? Okay, and they adjust, DOCWA will adjust that if they decide to stay longer and longer.
Yeah, that was
to the monthly.
Yeah, that was the point with the, if you divide that $410 by 30, it's basically $13 and change versus the 25.
Yeah. I just, what I remember is I talked about price per foot, and you said that's not what most mooring fields do. And yes, you're absolutely right. It's price per day per ball, which is what you're doing now. And I agree. But I did thought we had talked about escalated costs per amount of stay, and we actually have the other curve right now.
Yeah.
So
I don't think anyone's necessarily against that, John. I think they're just saying, let's wait a little bit till business gets better, then let's revisit that, because that may be a very good policy position.
Absolutely.
Depending on-
I just don't want it to get lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Depending on where we end up land-based, several months down the road, it's going to change where the premium spot is, where the locations are, where the most desirable dinghy. The most desirable dinghy dock is going to be where it's at now, but there may be other people that prefer to stay farther down, especially if the land base is in a different location. Okay, anything else on budgeting that Chad passed out, that first page here?
Thank you for putting that together, that's really
Yep.
helpful.
Yes, ma'am.
Second page is dealing with pump outs,
Let's see, so,
and this one, is that the one we'd look at next?
yeah, that would be more we can save this for our staff report.
Okay.
It's just kind of what's going on in the field for y'all.
And
recent
the
months
third one we'll get to
in the vessel mooring area.
in the vessel mooring area. So that's it for the first part of the budgeting. Marketing. Do you have any items on?
Yeah, whenever
Marketing.
we promised Nicole to come and visit, I didn't realize she had already taken off some time.
So we want to invite her anytime that she can
Yeah.
make it. She's our IO, right, information
PIO.
officer.
Yes.
Nicole.
PIO.
She's invited anytime she would like to come. Next meeting would be great.
Very
The
good.
one thing I wanted to mention, Sam, I'm sorry for taking up so much time.
Nope.
I seen a recent, I think it's been within the last week, a Facebook post about our mooring field, and it was excellent. It really was positive, and I think that's the kind of stuff that we talked about previously happening, and it sold the field quite well.
Nicole does do a good job. She reaches out on the radio to see if there's any updates that she can post, kind of seeing what we're up to and things like that. She has been reaching out to local news agencies as well and trying to promote the work that marine operations as a whole does. So we have been having a couple stories come up about the work and debris removal and all of the things that marine operations has been involved with.
I think that's excellent, and like I said, what I recently seen is, and of course, when she comes in, we'll talk about that, but I was very pleased with what I've seen, and I would encourage other members of the table to take a minute to search that out and see if it's what they want.
Yeah, if we can, if you can let us know when those types of things are coming up, those of us who have Facebook, we can repost it, and we can share it more broadly to our networks as well,
Yeah.
things that are relevant.
Okay, anything else with marketing? Is our usual advertising and everything in place? Our website's up and running good? DOCWA's functioning?
Yeah, things are up to date.
We just re-upped our subscription with DACWA. We are exploring other venues and easier to use programs. There are starting to be a lot of marine management programs out there that are reaching out to us in order to refine what we're doing. But we're going to try to get into that after season. We don't want to make any changes while we're in our busiest season of the year. So we are working on finding other avenues.
Any big name ones so that while we're home on our computers, we can go check them out?
Molo, M-O-L-O, has been the #1 contender that we've been working with now, and talking with them and getting their details and how they operate. So that's what we're researching right now.
That's the main competition for DOCWA?
I believe so.
Okay, we can look at that online and see what that looks like compared to what we have, and we can consider that down the road. Any other marketing items?
I did, the Facebook post I'm talking about did reference DACWA that went on, and they've done a wonderful job. I assume we fed them that information, but it's very, very impressive.
If you guys go on the reviews phase as well under marinas.com, it goes over basically what the patrons are experiencing when they come to the town.
An excellent rating.
I was going to bring that up on my comments, but yes, I did the same thing. And I mean, in Austin, you specifically, it talks about you and the staff, and and The reviews there are incredible and valuable.
I believe we are one of the highest rated mooring fields, if not marinas, that are being reviewed. We have like 109 reviews and we hold a 5-star rating right now.
Yeah, very good.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. It's been a tough one, but we do go out of our way to go over the top. We treat everybody like they're a guest in our own home, so we just make sure everybody is taken care of.
Well, the other thing that it talked about a lot, I read, is response. And you know, there's nothing worse than being someplace and not getting a response. And I mean, you guys are doing an excellent job on responding, and it's much appreciated.
The staff is working 7 days a week, just so everybody knows. We do 6 to 2 shifts. But for the most part, you know, a lot of us are starting to get a little ran, so we have asked for more support, and so we are doing interviews and things like that to get better, to get more staff. So,
Has Nicole put out that we have a 5-star rating and we're one of the highest rated mooring fields in the state?
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
Because that's a message that I would want to
Yeah,
hide.
exactly.
That's a great
There
message.
needs to be a bus parked there.
Oh, hey, Austin, make sure you have Nicole do something on that. That's a big deal.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just, we've just been so.
Oh, I know. You got to tell your story. That's a good story.
All right, very good.
You coming back, Austin?
Yes, sir, I'll be right back.
And you could mention it during your comments next time that your council, don't you get your
Yeah,
little
yeah,
moments and
yeah,
you
yeah.
can do your rewards and recognitions?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay. Anything else on the marketing department? Good. Next item is town vessel mooring. Okay, why don't we wait for Austin? Why don't we skip over that and come back to that one, because that's going to be Austin, unless Chad has something on that. That's Austin's department there on the vessel mooring. We'll discuss
Yeah,
that,
well,
Austin.
We can go ahead and get started. Austin's pretty familiar with it.
Okay, sure.
So what we have in front of you with the this table right here, we've with our coastal engineer did an analysis of the costs and the pros and cons of the short list of locations where we could moor our vessels. We took out the sewer connection costs, since the feedback that we've gotten that's a bit challenging right now. So just looking at the 3 locations, we have the Virginia Avenue right-of-way. It's up in downtown area. Looking at approximately $150,000 per slip. We'd only be able to get 2 slips in there. That would cost on the order of about $300,000, as you can see. Again, we're looking at what it's going to cost to mitigate mangroves, remove mangroves, what dredging costs would be in there. Boat lifts are going to be fairly standard across. Every boat lift costs $20,000. Seawall, if we needed to seawall the area, different linear foots per for each of the different areas will give us a different cost. And then, canal dredging to make the basin area and trimming mangroves to get into the area. So again, Virginia Avenue, about $150,000 per slip, $300,000 total. Chapel Street, or probably more appropriately called Tropical Shores Way. That's the street, right, Mr. Jim?
Yes.
So that's it's just looking at the commercially zoned property that's at the end of that canal. That would cost approximately $75,000 per slip. We could fit in 3 slips in there, and approximately $225,000 total for all 3 slips. And then the Bay Oaks property, with doing the same analysis, approximately $140,000. And to do the 3 slips, it would be $428,000 total. So again, the cost analysis shows Chapel Street, or Tropical Shores Way, just that commercial property that's at the end of the canal. In terms of fiscal responsibility, would be the best choice. We also looked at pros and cons, and I can go through those if that pleases the chair.
Yes, please.
looking at the Virginia Avenue right-of-way, proximity to the mooring field, it is the best for that. It's right at the end, at the head of the canal, I should say. You can practically see the mooring field from there. Only about, we looked at, distance to the furthest ball, about 6,650 feet to the furthest ball. It only has 50 feet. It has 50 feet of shoreline, which is a pro, but it could also be seen as a con in that there's only room for 2 slips. We would need to dredge that out, and therefore it would be privately owned submerged land right there. There is, in terms of mangrove mitigation, there is mangrove mitigation that would be there. Nothing that's not authorizable by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. But the better the mangrove, the condition they're at, and the area, the canopy that you're impacting determines the mitigation. And the mitigation there is it's something, but it's not insurmountable. I think we have it on there as about $7,500 as a round figure. Another con of Virginia Avenue is that we would have to go through that whole rezoning process. You'd have to vacate the right-of-way, which is, again, not insurmountable, but another con for that location. The Tropical Shores Way or Chapel Street property, again, good proximity to the mooring field. About 9,400 feet to the furthest ball. There's quite a bit of shoreline there, which is, that's a pro. You have enough to fit 3 vessels coming into there.
Wait, 9,900 feet to the farthest ball, right?
Yes.
900, okay.
Yeah. Yep. So 1,800 to the closest, 9,400 to the furthest ball, whereas Virginia Avenue was 500 to the closest and 6,650 feet.
Oh, thanks.
That's a town-owned property. It's zone commercial. There's submerged land that we already own into there. You would not need to dredge any of the uplands to get the mooring areas into there. That land purchase that we did a couple of years ago could be used as a grant match, which is important whenever we're trying to get money for these mooring areas. There's also proximity to town facilities. Our public works is temporary. I say temporary, it's probably going to be on the order of years. They have their equipment and facilities there. So proximity to that, and then the engineer is saying that there's possibly room for 4 slips in there, but the mangroves, whenever the state contractors came in through there, those mangroves did get thrashed a bit, which is not good, but a positive of that is that the mangrove mitigation, there would still be mangrove mitigations, dead mangrove roots are still protected by the 1996 Mangrove Trimming and Preservation Act, but the mitigation cost for that would be substantially less just because it's not a pristine mangrove forest. Another con is that we would need to dredge that canal more so in the head of the canal, like most of the canals that we have that got impacted, silted in by Ian. It's at the head of that canal, it's a little bit shallow, and we would need to dredge that, or it's likely just using that canal would take care of a little bit of that. As more that you use the canal, it kind of makes your own way, kind of, so to speak. And just the lack of use there has allowed it to kind of get mucked up a bit. Onto the Bay Oaks property. Again, it's 1,800 feet to the closest and 9,700 to the furthest ball. So a little bit further away, but still good proximity. There's a lot of shoreline there, with the, that being that mangrove forest that's all there, that's all shoreline. It's town-owned property, but there's two property issues. Is that there's a right-of-way, platted right-of-way that surrounds Bay Oaks, so it's not clear. We probably have to vacate right-of-way, or it's not real clear what's going on around there. So it's kind of like a platted right-of-way that surrounds the Bay Oaks property. So that's a complication, as well as there's an individual that owns the submerged land in that canal that's made things complicated for the property owners over there. So that could also make things complicated for us. It does have good proximity to town facilities, but there's also that con of, conflicting uses with proximity to our residents' recreational facilities versus our mooring facilities. But, given the length of shoreline, we could possibly have room for, 4 slips or more. Probably the biggest con of Bay Oaks is the mangrove mitigation. As far as mangrove forests go around here, that's probably one of the better ones, and therefore, whenever they're looking at the cost of mitigation, they do an assessment of the quality of the mangroves, and that would make that mitigation more costly. I think he was estimating it at, if you look at Bay Oaks, he was estimating, somewhere on the order of $17,000 plus $40,000 to remove them, versus, so total of about,
50.
round figures, $57,000, versus at Virginia Avenue, you're looking at a little over $10,000, and at the Chapel / Tropical Shores Way, around $3,000. So in terms of mangroves, the Tropical Shores Chapel Street location is most ideal. So again, just to summarize it, if you look at overall costs, the Chapel Street Tropical Shores Way is more fiscally advantageous. If you look at mangroves, again, Chapel Street better, and just and also the zoning issues, it being already zoned commercial, the use for mooring town-owned vessels would be less complicated for zoning. So, and again, long story short, y'all can listen to Austin about this, but we just need somewhere to moor our town vessels. We need a home all in one spot. So staff's recommendation again is the Chapel Street / Tropical Shores Way location, and we just look to some direction from the Anchorage Advisory Committee on that.
Did
What
you look
is-
any, I'm sorry, Chris.
No, you go.
Did you look any further into talks with the county for a different location such as Bowditch? I believe the last meeting Austin said Bowditch would be his ideal location. And the problem was, it sounded like the county didn't want to play ball with also under the bridge. That also had the current, issue with the current. There was the current's very strong under the bridge. So if I remember, Austin said Bowditch would be the ideal location.
Yeah, and just it's
And I
going to
think
be.
that as a committee, we have to work as hard as we can to try and keep these. If the residents don't want this thing in their neighborhood, I mean.
Well, again, we're not proposing the sewer connection.
Yeah.
This is just vessel mooring. So we've listened to the residents'
Okay.
concerns on that, and we're not proposing any.
Well, the resident I talked to seemed to have an issue with both, not just the sewer pumping, but also the storing of the vessels and the traffic that they would create in the canal.
So Chad, you mentioned the sewer. Sorry, this is off. You mentioned the sewer is going to be the same on all of them because it's hooked up.
Well, if you were going to.
Or are we not going to pump?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're not proposing that. Chapel Street is definitely the one that the lift station is literally right there. You're talking tens of feet versus hundreds and hundreds of feet at Bay Oaks, directional boring to get to the lift station that's at
And
the building.
Virginia's in place pretty much too, right?
Virginia is,
At least at the street.
well, you'd want to get downhill at the lift station, so to speak, because if you're putting in, you want to be so that it's got that, the lift station's putting it where you want it to go. So you want to be on the pressurized end of it where it's going where you want it to go.
So these all, basically the Chapel Street is good to go with the sewer hookup. It's the closest proximity,
If that's what we're proposing, yes, sir, it would be the best.
but this isn't even bringing that into play, is it? This is-
Correct.
Okay, so
We're
this is
proposing
just
vessel
boat
mooring
lifts and to park a couple town vehicles to get on and off the boat lifts.
Yeah, I mean, we already have town parking there with Public Works being there.
So the Chapel Street, where the equipment is now, the back part of Town Hall, where the equipment is, is that the same parcel as the original Town Hall parcel?
So where they're located at, that's the old Town Hall property, and then that's distinct from the
Commercial part?
commercial property at the waterfront property at the end.
So the parking of vehicles, do we know if we're keeping that parcel?
Well, that's the $10,000 question. I was a little confused at the beginning here. So the pump out station, that's been decided, or that's still to be decided? And this is just for the vessels that we're talking about today?
I mean, this is vessel mooring areas,
But you don't care if they're together then? You don't care if the pump out station is at the same place as the vessel mooring?
I mean, the direction that we're hearing and what we're seeing is try and utilize the marinas is kind of what, that's, what we've been doing now and trying
And
to.
just pay as we go?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been actually going down in the neighborhood and talking to the residents to get feedback, basically doing kind of an educational talk with the residents and letting them know that it's not whatever everybody's saying it is. And basically giving them the operations of what we do. We've had a lot of turnabouts, and then some of the naysayers have become supporters in what we're doing just because of the clarification of what we're doing. It would basically just be the town pump out boat doing its thing 3 times a week, going up and down the canal and storing it there at the end of the canal on a lift. We do have, basically we have marinas that are volunteering the services for us to go and pump out there. Pink Shell and Bill, what's his name?
Benita Bills?
Wachulis, Bill Wachulis, the GM, has been really a helpful hand in getting our operation and moving forward with that. But then again, that is, we have to do it outside of their hours and have to work within the parameters of what they set. So we are trying to, educate and inform everybody in what exactly we're doing. And I've gotten responses so far as people thought we were going to be discharging in the canal. People thought we're opening up a sewage treatment plant at the end of the street. And it's just a lot of these created ideas that the residents think it is based on what it actually is. So that's where we come in with the speech of basically we're operating no more than any marina, any 5-star marina, and this is the same system that Pink Shell is operating with the pump out nozzles and all that do harbor $1 million boats, which has no smell, no sound, or any disturbances to the boaters. If that was the case, then nobody would want to rent the slips there. And basically, it's just the most efficient way with the peristaltics, and like he was saying, with the pump and things, we'll be on the backside of it, just dumping in. And this is not a pressurized system. This is no more than flushing a toilet into the sewer line.
Austin, I'm confused because I thought we resolved this and it was going to go to Bay Oaks. Is that not happening now?
No, I don't believe so, yeah. I believe there's just been a lot of back and forth with the residents and things like that. So that's where we've been trying to clarify with the residents and get the actuals of what's going on. And then again, that's when the Bay Oaks and the pricing and all the mitigations and stuff came into play. And basically what we were thinking was the Chapel Street was the most viable spot. So that's why we've been working more on that end.
So you're separating the two now, right?
Well, we're only proposing just vessel mooring area
Yeah,
with this.
just a boat lift.
And then you're thinking later on down the road,
Perhaps.
perhaps, if there was better education and support from the community, then you could go away from the marina and perhaps do the pump out
If
there.
that's the direction of town council, but right now, we just need somewhere to moor the vessels. And
How much time and inconvenience is it to have the boat lifts in a different location than the pump outs?
The time consumption is what the issue is. It does take time, it does take
And
gas,
inconvenience because of the hours and,
and then the disturbances to it, and then if they're pumping out, we can't pump out, and things like that. So
we have to wait in line like everybody else
Yeah.
because we don't have a,
typically, right now, we try to get there at sunrise, right when, before the hours of operations, and so we can start pumping before basically anybody wakes up at the marina.
so you're kind of at the mercy of wherever we're pumping out. Whereas if we had a hookup where the boat lift was or some independent area, you could be more flexible and go whenever you needed to.
Yeah, that's correct, and then it would stop with the storage of the waste in the boat, which causes problems and backups within itself.
Yeah, when you came back every day, if you were at the same location as the boat lift, when you came back every day, you just,
Yeah, it would just.
it's only a couple minutes to pump out, and that way everything would be fresh when you started.
That would be an ideal thing, and like I just wish there was more understanding in what it actually was versus what people think it is.
So the closer and the more proximity and better hours is going to be better for your man hours and convenience.
Yeah, and usage of the boat itself.
John?
I don't want to be argumentative, honestly, okay? Here's your presentation from last month, and it says dockside sanitation and town vessel mooring, location feasibility analysis. It has 3 places on here which you've identified the cost of. So, and you also stated that you didn't want the town to depend on a other vendor to be able to do your pump out. You had been doing that at Diversified, and Diversified was an excellent place to do it, but you said you wanted under town control, which you didn't have at Diversified. We also said Pink Shell didn't really have the capability of pump out that you wanted and being able to basically clear your vessel as quickly as possible. So this is a right turn for me. And I would think it's a right turn for the residents as well, because the presentation was, we want both at the same place. So if they misunderstood it, they had a good reason to misunderstand it.
Well, we're not saying anybody misunderstood anything, we're just saying that we've heard what they said, and we're adapting to that feedback.
Okay, I understand, but, well, I don't understand at all.
I don't understand either.
Because we've made a right turn. The other thing that I believe was on the table, and we had asked, is that the problem with parking lot 4 was the ability to get pump out there, because there is no storage and location of parking lot 4. But it was asked that we come back with a cost to extend the county pump out facilities and get it to parking lot 4, making parking lot 4 the condensed both storage of town vessels as well as being a pump out facility that you needed. So
My understanding is that Lee County said that they cannot do it, it's not a matter of money.
I know they said they cannot do it, but we said money talks, and what would be the cost to do it? And would there be a possibility of getting a grant to help cover the cost of making that happen? So if you haven't identified a cost, if you haven't brought to the committee a cost, I don't think we're looking at all the options that we talked about needing to look at previously.
I don't believe there was money discussed with the county, it was just that it wasn't possible.
I understand, that's exactly what you said.
Yeah.
All right, but the question was, how much money would it take to make it be possible? If there was a number.
Understood.
It was the same with Bowditch is the way I heard it.
That's exactly,
And
and
also, we talked about the location that we're sitting at right now, and the problem with the sewer connection here was the historical nature of the mound. that we're sitting on. So that ruled out this location. But the other two locations, other than the current issue, I thought were still viable.
Yeah, they
Just need some buy-in from the county.
just working with the county has really gotten us nowhere, so.
Can you, just on that point, Austin, the county, you say the county's being difficult, but I talked to Ray Sandelli each week, and he asked what's going on in Fort Myers Beach, how can we help? We appealed to the county commissioner to try to help advocate for us, because Bowditch seems like a great location.
Yeah, no, we haven't discussed anything with Bowditch about it yet. Like I said, what our direction was.
But that's your ideal choice, right?
Yeah,
Bowditch,
absolutely.
a perfect world?
Absolutely.
So why don't I just call Ray Sandelli and say, who is the person at the county that internally that he would reach out to and say, hey, can you help Fort Myers Beach out?
Yeah.
Partner with them and see if we can make this Bowditch. Who would that be at the
Director
county?
of Parking.
Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
Can you get me that info? And I'm happy to reach out to him. He's always asking how he can help. I they may say no, and that's fine, but we'd be crazy not to at least ask, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
What would you be asking for, 2 or 3 boats and pump out? Is that what you would be asking for?
Just usage of the park for mooring facilities, basically. I mean, it already has bathrooms, it already has docks, it already has everything there that we would.
wait a minute, so this is expanded to all mooring, this is not the pump out station?
No, yeah, so basically,
Boat mooring area.
I thought we were
Vessel
talking
mooring
about
areas.
a perfect world, I'm sorry.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, so.
Yeah,
What
in a
if-
perfect
But do you want the pump out station there too, in a perfect world?
If it's possible, yeah.
We have to see where the lift station's at. That's the key, is where are the lift stations at?
Yeah,
Because they're very close together. They're very, very close together.
absolutely.
Where
Like I
storage
said,
exists
in a perfect
and
world.
where your mooring could be possible. And there really doesn't seem to be any obstruction between one and the other. So again, I think we need to look at that and say,
Well, if we
What
want
we
to start
take to
talking
do it.
about money, basically our direction was the town assets that, or basically the assets that the town already has,
Right.
okay? And other than that, that's what all of this was compiled about, was about assets we already had. If we want to start getting into what we can purchase, then we can start talking about purchasing real estate, we can start talking about waterfront properties that we can purchase and things like that. If you guys think that the money, if you want to throw money at it,
we
then
don't want to throw money at it. We want to know what cost it would take to
Yeah.
make it an option.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, honestly, and that, because you made it quite clear that the ideal was to have both co-located
Yeah.
because it would make it most efficient for you.
Absolutely.
One of the things that isn't on here at all is Bowditch, okay? And so, from my standpoint, it hasn't been looked at, and from the standpoint of the feedback I've gotten from residents is, why isn't it on here? It'd be an ideal scenario that wouldn't have anything associated with putting it into a community. Plus, it would give you the ideal situation in being able to have them both at the same place.
Sure.
So,
It sounds like it would make everybody happy. It would make you happy, it would make the residents happy, it would make everybody sitting at this table possibly happy as well. So
Yeah, we're happy
just
to chase
something-
that down.
Yep,
I mean,
absolutely.
I know you guys have enough on your plates already, and I hate to give you some more to do, but I'll never be able to support the Chapel Street property, and I don't think the Bay Oaks one is, I at one time thought that was a alternative, but I'm not seeing that anymore either.
Yeah.
Well, and you, like you said, Austin, you were going with, what do we have that's potentially available? Let's start there with what the town already owns, and let's figure that part
And I
out.
don't know
We
that,
weren't
but-
really pie in the skying,
Yeah.
but if Bowditch is a better place, and maybe you can give me like 2 reasons why that's your ideal place?
It's the entry point for the island itself. Every
Okay.
boat that comes in into this island has to pass that point, and it could be a nice hub for a better visual on what's going on with the field, coming and going vessels as well.
I don't believe that Bowditch would require the town to purchase any property.
But it
It
doesn't
would be
belong.
it'd be an interlocal agreement
Yep.
with the county.
Exactly.
it'd be a retrofit, putting in lifts, and it would be getting the storage there. Would be, am I correct? Is that
Yeah,
what we would need?
there may be some submerged land lease that may need to happen for the vessel mooring areas, in addition to the docking facilities that they already have there.
But
depending on
isn't
whether
that
or not-
already, isn't that already owned by,
Right, so
Yeah.
it would need to be some sort of agreement with the county as to if that were going to be allowed, would it be on existing docks, or would we need to invest in additional boat lift mooring areas?
And just so I'm clear, so if I talk to Commissioner Sandelli, are we just talking about the vessel mooring and the pump out station? Or are we also talking about upland facilities?
I mean, if we're doing pines.
Yeah, I mean, pie in the sky would be, everything's right there.
The challenge with the upland
Right.
facilities right now is they haven't even begun reconstruction of the restrooms there.
Right.
They haven't done anything at Bowditch at this point. That doesn't mean the other two issues could begin.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But they could think about that in their
Absolutely,
plans
yeah,
as they're
absolutely.
making Bowditch a more
Absolutely.
overly accessible
And it
place.
would be perfect for
Does
upland
anyone
facilities.
want to entertain a motion that we suggest that Town Hall look into Cottage Point, and we recommend to council that they, John, do you want to make
Oh,
that
I'm sorry,
motion?
go ahead. No,
No. You want to make
No, I would like to make a motion that Bowditch is fully explored as being both a place to keep your vessels and to be able to pump out your vessels.
and/or upland facilities?
And or upland facilities, which I don't,
Longer term.
Yeah.
yeah, longer term. So I make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second?
Ted seconds. So the motion is to have town council look into with Lee County investigating Voters Point for any and all related items. Any discussion? I think we already had the discussion, didn't we? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously, so we suggest that we look into Bowditch a little closer. I did have a couple comments on one more thing. 2 lifts or 3 lifts? So Austin, we got pump out boat and we got our runabout, right?
Yeah, we have a small enforcement boat that we do utilize as well.
So that's 2 lifts.
Yeah, basically a shallow water boat.
Yeah.
And then we have a work boat, dive boat that we go and do all the maintenance as well on.
So if we had 3 lifts, we would probably be using them.
Yes.
Most
We'd be using all, because we do have the 3, and that would keep you from trailering and all the other things. So the difference between the 2 lifts and the 3 lifts is substantial. Because
Yes.
that's gonna complete your storage up for that area. I did have one little item here. This was the Beach Bulletin, was it last week or week before? March 13th. Web poll. Should a sewage pump out station for the town's mooring field be built at the end of residential canals as proposed by the town near Bay Oaks, or should the town continue to use the local marinas? Residential on tropical shores was 19%, near Bay Oaks 11%, continue to use local marinas 70%.
Bless you.
Bless you. Assuming that most of the people who responded to this were probably tropical shores people and people that had, some interest in this, but there's a lot of blowback on tropical shores. But,
Yeah.
financially, location-wise, the way the property is, I think it's got to remain a candidate at this point, but the Bowditch does offer a lot of
Well, it can
potential.
certainly remain a candidate, but we have an opportunity here with being hit by this hurricane that we can make everything better.
Yep.
And we can do it in a way that helps the residents and helps our staff as well.
If we could get something to come back even preliminarily about Bowditch, whether we could keep moving forward with it. So Jim, are you able to bring that up at the next meeting that we?
I can bring it up at the council meeting, but also after talking to you all, I'd like a little bit of a strategy when I approach Commissioner Sandelli as to where the pressure point is with the county. And I think we stay away from the upland facilities at this point because they don't have facilities for washer dryers at the Bowditch right now. Obviously, they haven't begun construction. Doesn't mean we can't long-term try to plan with them to see if we could do an upland facility there. But on the first 2 items, I think we could begin. And I just need a little bit more background before I pitch it to Commissioner Sandelli.
Already forming a plan.
All right, good. All right.
Okay.
So Austin, you're driving a boat. Is Bowditch too exposed, or if you have boat lifts, it doesn't matter?
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter.
You don't worry about the wind and the current as long as you're up on the boat lift, and you have no problem getting in and out of there.
It's not any worse than under the bridge right there.
Sorry, Sam.
No, go ahead, Jim.
One more curveball,
Yep,
if I
go
could, please. So, Bowwitch, that we already talked about. Parking lot 4, which we already talked about. Here's another curveball that just want to put in the mix, that at some point I'd like to see at bare minimum, is it even possible? And this is San Carlos Marine Park, which is,
Is that ramp?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, I know that you said it wasn't at all ideal to have your vessels over at San Carlos, but we got a lot going into the mix right now. And I think we owe the responsibility that we looked at everything we could look at. So I do think that that's something that you need to come back and say, at the very least, which you've already done, pros and cons. Does that take a motion, or is that?
No, we hear you.
Simple
And
request.
we've asked about that, and our direction has been to stay within our jurisdiction.
Okay,
It's not part of the town,
is that true?
unfortunately.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
One other thing with Tropical Shores is, we're gonna be having to deal with the residents there. One positive is that that canal would be dredged out and serviceable all the time. For, I don't know how many people have on that west side of, where Tropical Shores comes in on that side. How many people have big boats in there, but even with the little boats, we'd have to keep it maintained, and
That's
that would
been
be.
one of our talking points is,
That's a
in the
plus for
event of
them.
an emergency, that would be, an event of another storm, that would be the first canal cleared. Since it is the servicing canal for the town, that would be the most maintained and upkept canal that we would have, since that we would be utilizing it.
Would they have the same resistance if just for the boat storage, just for the moorings, would they have the same resistance, or?
It just seems to be,
It was indicated to me that they would.
Yes, I agree.
yeah.
So that's a different, that's a
Because
different
they-
thing than just this, that's a whole
Three
different
boats are gonna
conversation,
cause
honestly.
a lot more
Yeah.
traffic
Yeah.
than they're used to.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't want to rehash all this, but remember the history of Tropical Shores Chapel. They went through a whole upland facility discussion, and they felt kind of blindsided by, there's a lack of confidence in those neighbors right now.
Some baggage, perhaps.
Yeah, some baggage, and I think the challenge, what I'm confused about on the Bay Oaks side, is that I thought we had pretty good buy-in on the Bay Oaks side. I thought that was
Getting more into the engineering, so the same neighbors complained about Bay Oaks as well, there was the same complaint, so.
But a lot less though, because on Bay Oaks, there were mostly rentals there.
Yeah, I haven't done a scientific survey.
I have.
And why do we need 100 feet of seawall, 140 feet of seawall in Bay Oaks? Is that
Because
going
you'd need to dredge a basin, a boat
Oh,
basin.
to get it in.
And if you didn't put a seawall, then you'd have to impact even more mangroves just to allow for slope.
Right, so you want it to come in perpendicular, yeah. You want it to come in.
And
long.
the issue with Bay Oaks is how do you get to the sewer? There's no force main or lift station on the, Gulf Beach Drive side, where, getting into there.
And you have to go
I'm not
through
a-
that sensitive area.
Not a
just to
utilities
really-
expert, but you directionally bore through the mangroves, which would be substantial as well. So it's complicated, it's.
What about ownership of the canal? Somebody owns the.
Yeah, the submerged bottom, so you could get around that in that, if we vacated that right away, if it needed to be vacated, and then you're basically
Half across.
dredging, into your,
Yeah.
it's not uplands, it's really wetlands, but you're dredging those wetlands, and you're still the owner of that boat basin.
And we could purchase those rights as a town too if we needed to, which would be a benefit to the people on the canal.
Yeah.
But it is, as you talked about, the mangrove mitigation is substantial with Bay Oaks, and it certainly is much more costly.
Yeah.
I just have one more question, then I'm happy to move on. At the Bowditch property, is there gonna be mangrove mitigation and all these other measures that need to take place there, or is that pretty much ready to go?
I don't think there's much, is there much of it?
I don't think
We'd have to
there
go
is.
take a look at
I
it.
don't think it's,
I know there's some mangroves at King's Shell, I'm not sure how they.
But you won't have that
Continue
basoning
along.
issue at all because
Sure.
you can
Yeah.
go out into the bay.
Yeah,
I think so,
it'd most likely be a little bit more minimal. Ideally, we'd use the docks that were there, and there would be less impact, but,
Another thing about Bowditch is that our balance sheet, you know, if we're having an interlocal agreement or whatever, and we're just paying rent or whatever, if they would build to suit or something like that, it frees up our credit with having to borrow.
Do we know what the county does with their docks there now?
They're just in disrepairs right now.
But are they just open to the public generally?
Yeah, with a lot of
Normal?
restrictions. A lot of restrictions there, yeah.
And just one point to make with you, with your statement, Vice Mayor, is if the town doesn't use that commercial lot or that residential lot on Chapel and on Tropical Shores, I mean, it's a commercial lot, and you would think we could probably sell it as a commercial use. Anything could go in there and anything can happen. So my message just to residents is, you know, we're your town, we're working for you. This whole analysis is not to, you know, put in anything about anybody's face. It's just a fiscal analysis for what
I
we're trying to
understand,
do.
and I respect that, yeah.
If there's a commercial entity in there, you only have so much say for what they're doing on their own land if the town did not own that.
And that is not a zoning change. That was always like that. I'm gonna venture back when everybody bought their houses. And as I understand it, the way it's built now, they could have a waterfront bar with music until 8 or 9 at night.
Right.
So I mean, that's a very
You know,
relevant.
that would be a burden, that would be a.
And that's why I
real
asked the
problem.
question about keeping boats there. That's pretty non-abstruse, you know, I mean, having a
Anybody who
boat in
owns
there
that
is
lot
one
is
thing.
going to put some
Right.
sort of mooring facility
Yeah.
there.
That is a good pitch to the residents, that there would not be a lot of commercial traffic, whereas if the town ended up selling that piece, or they wouldn't even have to sell the whole old town hall, they could sell that piece.
Are you positive that was always commercial, zoned commercially?
Pretty sure. Yeah, when the town bought it, it was the one lot closest to town hall was already commercial. And the other one was residential with the intent of maybe.
Yeah, that would, the one on
Rezone.
Chapel, the long rectangle would need to be rezoned.
Yeah,
for
that's still
institutional
residential.
use.
And that's one that's been questioned for a long time. All those lots down that street have been in and out of court for decades about developing those. Not particularly that one, but the ones next to
On
them.
Mango, that's all been settled.
Yeah, oh, that has been
Yes,
settled?
now the owner of those lots has to go to the state to get permission to build. And that's where they're at, yeah.
The Boatish Point, where do you put the cars as you come and go to your boats?
It would need to be something that would be stipulated in a potential ILA where we have staff parking. Perhaps they have a little side lot there where they keep their,
Yeah, 'cause it's
staff
always full.
vehicles
Okay,
and equipment.
gotcha.
One
Everything.
positive about Boatish is you can always get to it and you can always get back to Times Square. You know, you can't get much farther than that, but that part, getting back and forth from there is pretty reasonable.
I believe in Jim Aberholt's ability to sell that to the county, that's what I'm gonna say.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Sandelli will be our secret weapon.
Well, I think as far as any motions or actions, I think just telling them to look into Boatish Point is probably about any other suggested actions for this meeting, or let's see how that goes in the next few weeks. See if we can get that, if we can get that rolling and have a discussion about that and at least include it in the mix, that would be, because there's issues with all three of these. The first one, I see the issue with Virginia being only 2 slips available. Not sure how obsolete that's going to be even before we start. You know, so we do have 3 boats. We've got the pump out boat, we've got the
Service boat.
service utility, but then we got runabout for.
Enforcement boat.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so basically we have the enforcement boat on a trailer in the lot over there. We have the service boat out on a ball right now that we ferry out to and then switch out the boats when we use it. And then Matanzas is renting us a spot, I think for $625 a month out there at to moor a boat.
So you're spending a lot of time logistically running around. Whereas if you had all 3, you could
Bottom cleaning
have a
Yeah.
lot.
once a month.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas if we just had the lifts, you wouldn't have to do
Correct.
a lot of that maintenance, and you're running around and wasting a lot of man hours. Okay, town vessel mooring, glad we solved that problem. Okay,
Useful time.
well, we're moving forward on that, that's good. Staff report and members items, ready for a staff report? Is there any, we got some additional information?
Yeah, so basically the mooring field has been operating at 80%. We've upped our pump outs to Monday, Wednesday, and Friday due to the high volume of what we've been experiencing. We have been requested, or we do still do requests on Tuesdays and Thursdays of anybody that does need it. The marinas, we still are pumping out Moss Marine, formerly Olson as well. We are probably going to do Snook Bright to help them out, get their stuff relieved. We have been pumping out at Getaway, but that is out of our jurisdiction. So earlier this month, we've been pulling it in, and we've informed them that we can no longer go that way just because of the higher volume of what we're experiencing. So they've been having their own services and trucks go out there to pump them out. It's just we've been burning up a lot of gas and man hours, and basically telling them we can get there, but not being able to get there due to the high demand within our jurisdictions right now. The sign-up program, we do have it for Moss Marine. We switched that to Tuesday morning pump outs just so we can clear a slot to get them pumped out. They have been helping us out with getting our boat pumped out and stuff like that in the past, but now we have switched to Pink Shell, who has been a very good provider in helping us move forward with the services that we're providing. The upland facilities, they're still at the same spot. We are exploring some real estate options that are in that area, and we'll bring that as soon as we get any movement on that to get some upland facilities better honed. The dinghy dock, as of I think about 2 weeks ago, we just got overloaded at the dinghy dock with boats. We talked to Mike over at Snook Bright, and he's provided us with another slip that they had, and with that we've added that on. So now we've fingered out to the previously non-used piling that was there prior to the storm. We haven't changed the footprint, nor have we altered anything that was previously there. It's the same footprint that we were, but we're using the aluminum floating docks that were salvaged after Ian. Staff has just pretty much fabricated our own brackets and things to tie everything together. We've had the engineers come by and look at it, and they all say it suffices for what it is. With these as well, they're easier to remove and easier to maintain than the large concrete ones that we did have. So in the event of a storm, we're able to collapse them and bring them in and fold them up and put them away. Other than that, we put up our no overnight dockage and no fishing signs at the docks. We do have an issue with people trying to store their dinghies at the dinghy dock while they run out of town or something. It just takes on the responsibility of the town to maintain that. If something were to go wrong, it takes staff to pull the vessels out and to tend to that, which we don't want to do. We have ordered some leave engine down signs, so we have had patrons come up leaving their engines up, exposing the props. With that high current, it causes damage to the other dinghies around it, so we thought it was just a universal thing, but we're starting to get a lot of new boaters coming to the area, so we've had to put up more signage to regulate that. Like I said, new docks. We're still operating on the systems that we previously were. We have cleared out, I think, 2 of them. Staff has gone down and cleared out some vessel pieces and debris to open up 2 existing mooring systems, so we can add those onto our inventory as well to provide those to the public. We're still working with Coast Guard and trying to get updates with what we can do with the 6 prior to the bridge there, numbers 3 through 9. Other than that, the maintenance, the boat went down, the pump out boat went down due to a wiring harness issue of the design. So we went and took it to Diversified, who got it back to us pretty quick. We have it up and running. Currently it's running with no issues. We have lost the usage of our service boat. The engine's no longer starting, so it's got to come out, and we've got to figure out what's going on with that. We have been putting in requests for a new engine for that, just to repower it. And then again, we are exploring some grant potentials to have a grant provide us with the service vessels so we can provide the services to the mooring systems. We've gone to Wiesen, who I believe currently was into it, and then we've got denied it so far, so we're just trying to explore more avenues and getting a service boat for the town as well. Other than that, the holding collections, like I said, we're taking on pretty much a substantial amount of waste. I think in February we took in about 5,000 gallons versus about 3,000 gallons in January. So we're starting to see an influx of pump outs and through the marinas and also in the mooring field as well. And us doing it more frequently, we're just taking in more at a time. We have been responding to debris calls. through residents. And then we are still working on our target list that Coastal Engineering provided with the side scans. I think this month we've, so far we've removed a bar roof from out back in the channels of Moss Marine. A yachter had hit it with his prop, letting us notified us that it's down there. We went ahead and sent the team down, and it was a whole intact roof. We went in with crowbars and basically started disassembling the roof underwater, and then Moss Marine brought their forklift over to the wall where we tied up to it and started bringing sections of it up. Hopefully tomorrow I can get back down there and start re-disassembling the existing part of it. Yesterday we responded to a call of a boat lift, about a 25-foot I-beam with the canopies over it, and we've used one of our boats to ratchet it to the side of it, and it's now sitting at the ramp at Miramar. We're going to go in and cut it up today and dispose of it as well. All of these actions are monitored by FEMA. We have a FEMA representative coming out with us while we do this to take pictures and document it. It should be reimbursable with what we're doing. All we're doing is reporting the cubic yardage of collections and staff time and equipment time as well is all turned into FDM, so we can hopefully recoup the expenditures that's costing the town right now to go ahead and dispose of this debris. Other than that, like I said, we do respond to a lot of the calls. We've been doing a lot of inspections in the canal areas. I just got a call from Matanzas Court about the debris buildup in the ends of their canals, so we're starting to get a project plan together so we can go in and remove just small pieces of debris, but we do have a dive team with rescuers that do search and recovery patterns, and that's how we figure out and remove the debris. We also did some out front of our dinghy dock as well. We ended up removing, I believe, a couple industrial-sized grills, a couple street signs, some carts, some umbrellas, anything that would obstruct the dinghy coming in there at low tide and cause any hazards to boats. Matanzas Inn did say that we can utilize the slip when our dinghy dock fills up. Their first slip closest to the wall, closest to the dinghy dock, is used for public use for the dinghies as well, to relieve any congestion at the dinghy dock. So we did have that going for us. Staff continues to monitor all of the bayfront accesses as well, whether it be the boat ramps. We still have Coconut closed. The residents want it open, but it's in such disrepair if somebody were to hurt themselves because of the loose piling or loose rock or all just the unsettles down there. I just didn't want a lawsuit to happen to the town, so we went ahead and wired it off and put a barricade at it. The residents, well, we get calls probably monthly about the updates on it, which we're trying to get funding, and since it is a public area, we're trying to reach out to the state for public grants and things like that to get that replaced. We did meet with our town attorney to go over the litigations and the do's and don'ts of the operations of the field as far as different scenarios that we've been experiencing in the field and how we can move forward with relieving any of those issues, whether it be people coming into the field not registered, people refusing to leave, vessels going into derelict, and also the ALA areas. They are starting to get I believe it was a staff member she was assigning to research more the ALAs and starting to broaden our information, or broaden basically our knowledge of it, and see where we can go to get anchor limitation areas established in the town here. And if you want to talk to the county commissioner, I believe that's who it was about that, that was a thing that only the county can establish, is the anchorage limitation areas, which we're happy to do the signage and all that and to upkeep it. It's just it has to be established through the county in order for that to happen.
It'd be another ILA scenario.
Okay.
That's going to be that section 427, Florida statute.
Yeah, 427, I think it's 2809 is the statute on that, and that will go over all the details of exactly what an anchored limitation area does and how it can.
I'm sorry, it's 327.4108.
4108, I'm sorry. Yeah.
327. And if you want to read it, you just put in Florida statute 327.4108 or Florida statute 327. You can scroll down to it and it comes up on the search area.
And then another issue that we are experiencing is crab traps in the mooring area. So we're working with FWC to get clarification on the laws with crab traps and people dropping crab traps. What are impeding the swing radiuses? We've had 2 complaints of them getting tied up in props to where dive teams had to go down unwind the props from, or unwind the lines from the props.
Are they numbered traps, so at least?
Yeah. They went over that, and then how we can identify them. If I do see a crabber out there, I just ask them and tell them the situation, what's going on, and they've all been pretty cooperative in understanding what we're trying to do.
Until the storm blows it.
Yeah. So that's about what's going on with the town right now.
Very impressive with your work.
It's nonstop. I'm about 6-7 days a week right now, but just doing what I can to get to keep our standard up there, and really, it's really turning the vision or the views or whatever the perception of the boats are with the residents. So I really try to work with the residents and responding to their calls and trying to work with them at the quickest response possible, and trying to get them to understand exactly that we are there for them, and this isn't something that we're trying to burden them with.
I have a question about that. We'll just call slip number 1 at Matanzas, which is going to be the closest one to the dinghy dock.
Yeah.
They said that we can use that to tie up dinghies.
Yeah, so it's difficult for
Do you have them get off and then walk it over?
No, they just tie up right in the slip.
And they can get off? They can get on and off?
At tide, when it's usable, yes, but
Okay.
at lower tides and stuff
How
like
about
that.
scraping into all those barnacles and everything?
Yeah.
They try to tie off.
Like I
the two
said,
lines.
higher tide, all that stuff isn't exposed, so they use it when they can and when it's pliable to them. But we still do have the seawall right there with the ladders and stuff that people utilize. So we do have staff there from 6 to 2 that does help rearrange vessels, moving dinghies and rearranging it to maximize the usage of the dock the best we can. With that, we put a 2x4 railing across the whole thing, so every inch of the dock is usable if you can use it.
And you're trying to get people to do 10-foot painters so they
10-foot
can just push
painters.
them back.
And that's where we go. If we need to slip out a little scope on them, then we'll scope out their dinghies a little bit to let them.
So you can get
use it.
2 to 3 times as many
Yeah.
dinghies.
Yeah,
Stay.
and it's a boating community, so everybody understands, everybody's there to help each other, and nobody's really in conflict with what we do or what any of the boaters do. We have been getting onto a couple of the boaters about the slow zones, no wake zones that we do have in the island. I don't know why the dinghies think that they can just zip around, but then again, I just explained to them, like, look, I'm trying to help you guys with the view of the residents. When you go shipping past their houses, it's not helping anybody. So just abide by the slow zone, stay on the outsides of the channel, and do your best, especially right now, to avoid the traffic that's coming to the island during peak season. Okay.
Is there any movement forward on the whole Laguna Channel project? Last time we talked about recommending this is something the council should prioritize. Has that happened at all?
I don't believe there's been any additional discussion since the last time we had the presentation at Anchorage, correct, Chad?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
With that, though, we have been doing pricing with the Laguna Channel and getting all of those markers reestablished with the haze. They do have a contract with us, so we can pretty much scope out how much it will cost to go ahead and rebuild that area. We have been working with that and adding up and getting the price for that rebuild.
I think, Chris, we also talked a little bit about the folks doing the beach renourishment as to whether they could potentially dredge that and move some of that sand as part of renourishment.
Yeah, so it's
I know it was
mostly
complicated.
beach compatible, which will help on the pricing of it, because instead of bringing it to a landfill or wherever off
We
island.
get the dump trucks on the side street, I know.
Yeah,
Bring it on down to the south. Come on.
yeah.
But they did have there are empty lots there, so there is staging. We staged last time, we staged construction or dredging. There still are several empty lots on Estrelita that are right near, if that comes into play.
Again, the big challenge is paying for it when you have 6,000 cubic yards, $100 a cubic yard, just need, $500,000 or so.
So when they go and look at that, are they going to do any casual preliminary soundings on that just to see how much needs to be done, or is that already?
Yeah, we have an engineering report that calculated that volume. We do
Oh, that report's been done
cross
already?
sections, yes, sir.
So Chad, just to dot the I, cross the T on this. So you're saying that if we built Laguna Shores into the renourishment project, it would be an additional 500,000, you think?
So I would not encourage us to try and build it into the renourishment project, because we would never get that permitting modification done in time. It would need to be a separate project for permitting purposes. And although it seems creative and probably more fiscally responsible to, dredge that sand and then use it on the beach, and it should all be paid for by, and basically you're getting your sand. They would just look at, okay, you want to dredge it, you pay for the dredge, and then now you've established upland sand source. Doesn't mean we're going to pay for that dredge for you. So we'd still need to pay for the dredge, and then we'd have the benefit of the sand.
But there wouldn't necessarily be any economies of doing the dredging as part of renourishment versus having it just doing it on its own.
I believe so. It's possible if they're in the area and the dredge is suited to work in that area, but you typically have, I think there's several different classes of dredges, and it would be more of a barge and excavator type scenario for the, and at least that's what we have permitted right now for the Laguna Channel, whereas they're using a hydraulic cutter head dredge out in the Ebb Shoal off of Matanzas Pass. And then the offshore dredge area is, I believe it's a cutter head, and they're putting it on scows, and then you boat it over however many tens of nautical miles, and then they refluidize it and put it through the pipe that way. So to answer your question, there can, with all the dredging that needs to be done, there are dredges in the area. Taking advantage of those while they're in there to reduce mobilization costs would be, take advantage of economy of scale, so to speak. We would still need some money though.
Is there any designated spoil areas, right? I know there's a bunch of sandbars there. Any designated, is that what it's called, where you can just
Yeah,
dump
I
the
need to get in
dredge?
touch with WeSend. I don't know, it's not a public channel by their definition, so I don't know if we can use those public dredge spoil sites, so that'd be a question for them. But
Is the sand compatible, beach sand to begin with?
a lot of it is, so most of it is. So you would, we would stage it there, let it
Separated?
de-water, and then whatever passes the test for beach compatibility, we could put on the beach possibly. Or even do like a near shore placement possibly if it's permitted accordingly.
Okay, I don't see any, like a lot of the charts have spoil areas that are marked. I don't see anything around there that says, but if it is a spoil area, you can get a permit to just put it there without having to move it all over the place, right? If there's any like registered spoil areas.
Right, but we have, in front of R204, Leonardo Arms is a prime candidate for putting that. But you'd be, that's 6,000 cubic yards literally could be washed away in a day with the right storm. It's kind of a drop in the bucket. They were estimating, I think around like 80,000 cubic yards to kind of like put there and make a substantial difference.
Just to hold the building together, probably.
Yeah.
Thank you, sorry that took us a really long time.
Good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking, and I don't know if I understood Austin exactly, but I really like the idea of the ALA, and there's a ton of anchor boats right now down in that Hurricane Pass area, on San Carlos, down by San Carlos. And I don't know, did you say that maybe the vice mayor should mention that to the commissioner when they were having a discussion about how we could work with the county to establish an ALA? Were you recommending that be a conversation with him as well? Because I don't know what we have on the, as an objective, like a long-term action item to establish an ALA, but I think that's worth it.
We cannot establish an ALA. It has to be done through the county entity.
Okay.
So that's why I pushed it
So maybe it's something
to bring it up in conversation, just to kind of get an idea or feel about how they feel about that.
Gotcha.
Do you have some ideas of where they might be already?
As far as
Where the ALAs might be?
So anywhere with the high volume of anchored vessels, and then again, it is an impact to the environment that does not only the boats themselves, but the anchoring and the chains that cause.
But specifically, have you got some areas that you have in mind?
Like around San Carlos, like the hurricane?
Hurricane Pass, and then
Yeah.
right before the mooring field is down out front of Outage Point right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Hurricane Pass is not jurisdiction.
Yeah, it's all county. About 1,000 feet out is where we are, so we fall short of Hurricane Pass on the dip right there. But basically, we pick it back up where that island is, on the backside of that island. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Would the county do it even in areas that are not ours? In other words, can we, if they're gonna do it, can they do it in those areas that are not in ours?
It belongs to them, so I would imagine they would, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm thinking if you already had a picture
Yeah,
for them,
definitely an idea of where we would like to establish it.
and
Yes,
let him have it as,
absolutely.
yes, background.
Chad, anything else, or is that it for now?
Good.
Anybody else have anything for staff? Okay. Members? Madam Vice Chairman.
Oh, boy. No, just kudos to Chad and Austin and the whole staff for maintaining such a high level of service and for doing the town proud. I mean, really appreciate all of the effort that you guys put in.
Thank you, thank you.
Second that for sure.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Looking forward to meeting the PIO whenever she's able to come, and also looking forward to continue working through, the priorities for the rest of the year and for years to come. That's it.
Yeah, just an afterthought, it may or may not be a good idea, but something to think about, because it kind of afterthought in the conversation we had earlier about the usage of the mooring field, and particularly that dry, wet storage that we have, and how do we utilize the balls? And I really like the idea of benefiting, the mooring field should benefit, the community and the town. One other area besides bringing revenue in to the businesses and things like that, which I don't think the wet slips do, not making that argument, but I just think but another area we've challenged is like workforce housing. Will we ever consider like setting aside a certain amount of balls maybe for, people who work on the island full time, and, because there's people that are boaters that, I would rather see that than a wet storage, perhaps.
Interesting, especially during season.
Especially
Yeah.
well, right.
Yeah.
Or full time. I mean, people are working here. It's hard to live here. If you're working on the island. So that could be it's small, but a potential solution for a group of people.
We do have a clause in the, not only the state land lease, but our harbor management plan, that 10% of the moorings may be used for live aboard year round.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that is.
Not necessarily for work, or not necessarily for people on the island, but anyone could.
Could we stipulate that those 10% be reserved for people who are working on the island?
We can basically stipulate, anything that we want to do with those 10%, but it just has to be cleared out. And in the past, we had basically a set parameter that went above what we already have as far as who was able to do the year-round liveaboards and participate in that program.
The complication with submerged land leases with the state is you have to, there's a reason why you have the signs out there that says, public first come, first serve, because the state obligates you to do that because you're using public land. So it may be challenging to get that stipulation actually in the permitting docs and the management plan, which is basically a state approved.
So the 10% that we have set aside is first come, first serve, those 10% can be there.
Yeah, there's complications with long-term renters. In one conversation, we're saying we want long-term renters, and another conversation, we want to charge more for long-term renters to dissuade them. So.
Right, but I'm saying something kind of a little different. I'm saying benefiting in the community by helping, people who want to live here and work here and be a part of the community. I personally don't see that as a negative, even long term. I don't
disagree. I'm just playing devil's advocate, I guess.
There are other mooring fields that I would encourage you to explore, especially Key West and what has happened as far as the real estate there and the long-term liveaboards that they're experiencing down there and what that has turned into.
Unintended consequences.
Ted?
Nothing.
I have just one item. I don't want to be repetitive and redundant, but I try to talk to everybody under the bridge when I'm down there. Austin is a superstar. I tell you, everyone has great things to say about you. The only reason they want you to leave is to be president of the United States, so you're probably not leaving to do that. And,
I didn't see on the ballot.
you write them in. But everyone's got great comments. Everyone's really happy with the Anchorage, the way things are running. They're not confused about anything. Everything seems to be running smoothly. And anytime somebody needs something, they come to the office. They're doing pump outs. The people I talk to are doing pump outs. They seem to be, pretty happy with that. Most people don't like that. Don't like anybody getting near their boat, but they're happy with your being considerate with everybody's boat, and we appreciate that. So.
I second everything Sam says. I hear nothing but positive stuff. And I'm very impressed with the recovery efforts you're doing. And I think that means a lot to the boating community.
It has been a long road, but yeah, we're getting there. We are getting there. Thank you.
Yeah, as our boss had said, Austin's been making meals out of crumbs.
Yeah. For a long time.
Good way to put it.
All set, John?
Yes.
Ed?
No, I don't have anything to add to what was previously said.
I have just one update. John put forth maybe a month or two ago a really thoughtful proposal of a water taxi concept to supplement a water ferry and to supplement the mooring field. And I just met this past week with the principal, one of the principals behind the proposed or the forthcoming water ferry system. And they love the idea, and they would love to have that be part of their business model, to have a taxi service supplement the ferry for those who just miss the ferry and have countless resources and just don't want to wait another hour or a half an hour. But they also said that they'd be more than happy to service the mooring field as well as part of that. But they were very intrigued by the concept, and they see a market there.
Certainly, if there's any way I can help,
Yeah.
just
I
let
think
me know.
the challenge, John, is that I think just they're waiting for critical scale to resume here on the island for their business model to work.
Right.
So I think, just roughly, I think they're thinking of a pilot program for next season.
Mhm.
It won't be their full build out, but then that following season they'd have the full build out.
Build it up.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that
Exciting.
certainly can help them connect with
great,
other examples.
And I'm going to have him come and talk to our committee at some point. Just give us an update of what they're thinking about, and that might be a good chance for you guys to.
And on what Jim just said, talking about Krista that came to the public, there was a meeting on Monday for the public safety meeting, and Krista is her name? Is that who you're talking about?
No.
Krista and her husband, the ones,
No, I saw that.
there was if anybody wanted to watch that, that was an interesting presentation about how to solve everything.
Yeah,
But
she had a really interesting
lot of good
proposal.
ideas.
This is an actual entity that's.
This is different.
For the last year and a half has been putting together a full business model for a functional ferry system for Fort Myers Beach and to some extent San Carlos Island. And they've got the funding, they've visited the East Coast, they've done all their research, they're working on permitting. I mean, it's a serious private sector proposal that hopefully will come to fruition.
Okay, this is another private sector that,
Yeah.
I think her name's Krista.
I saw her pitch, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
they bought some property on
Yeah,
San Carlos
yeah,
Boulevard,
yeah.
and she's got a lot of, she wants to take everybody everywhere.
I saw that, yeah, I'm very intrigued by that.
Yeah.
Competition's good, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. You
Yeah.
can get all that stuff going, that would be great. Anybody else have any comments or? Okay, next meeting is, let's set the agenda. Next meeting is going to be April 17th. That's the third Wednesday. And how's the agenda looking? Should we throw on there boatage, or we'll just get a report from during the staff report on boatage, if anything comes of that? Anything to add or delete from the agenda?
We have the PIO
Yeah.
and hopefully the,
Yeah, they have an open invitation to Joe in finance or Nicole with the,
Yeah, we'll keep budgeting and marketing on.
if there's nothing else, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Ted, seconded by Ed. It is 10:57.
Very, very